Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba. Ow! We're going on an adventure. It's gonna be so much fun. We're taking to the sky, just you and I.
Our smiles as bright as the sun.
Hey, heroes, rise up.
Rise up.
We can do it if we try. I believe in you and your feelings true. Hey, let your spirits fly. It's time for a cure of the what now?
Hiya!
It's so bright colors. Wow! We'll answer the call and be standing tall. Fun is our eternal vow. So gear up, get ready. I hope you're feeling fine, 'cause now it's hero time. Hear of the what now?
Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's two dorky podcasters.
Hello, fellow hopeful future members of the Podcasting Club, and welcome to episode 4 of season 3 of
Cure of the what now?
Hiya! The one show where we know you are perfect just the way you are. Unless you're a stupid pigman. Get out of here, stinky.
Now, note, pigmen deserve love too, but you were specifically saying that everyone is perfect the way they are. Kabaton is not perfect the way he is. He has to learn how to be nice to other people before he can be accepted.
Yeah, you know, I could see him being a decent dude, but maybe lose the stealing.
Yeah,
Stealing is only okay sometimes, and I'm not going to
I'm not going to elaborate. Yeah, you just have to kind of follow your consciences. Captain America would find occasion to steal, and he's like the paragon of goodness.
Exactly, absolutely. My name is Kat, and I definitely am not afraid to talk to people to make friends.
Hello, my name is and then she just runs. We've got to run her after her now. I'm Joel, your co-host.
I'm glad you remembered your name this time.
Did I not say it last time? Okay. And also, I am just drawing a lovely bunch of cabbages. There they are, growing all in the fields.
Oh, your cabbages! No! Welcome to the episode, folks. Joel, you said you wanted to do a little bit at the beginning of the episode, a little discussion, a little back and forth about something you've been doing.
Right, yes, sorry. The way you led into that kind of somewhat confused me a little bit. So, if you haven't listened to the Weekly Planet podcast, I love them greatly. At the end of each episode, they have a section called What Are We Reading? What Are We Going to Read? Where they just kind of cover anything that they've been reading or watching or basically interacting with.
And they have a song that I've always wanted to steal for our podcast, but it wouldn't be right. But it goes...
That's one of those times when you can't steal, right?
Yeah.
This is one of the times where we respect the original creators. I think it's kind of cool, you know, in case people have something they're really excited about that's not the pre-cure seasons we're covering, because obviously you're excited about those if you're listening to the podcast. But we're getting close to finishing Psychonauts. Just wanted to point it out. I know a lot of people love that game by reputation, but I finally... Catherine, you kind of dragged me into it. You sat down next to me and you went, hey, that's Steam, isn't it? And I went, yeah. And you went, you can download games on that? And I went, yeah. And you went, download Psychonauts. Download it now.
So Joel and I have been together for 12 years. And when we first got together and I discovered he liked games, I was like... think of a video game. And one of the games I really enjoyed watching my younger brother play when we were kids was Psychonauts. So I was like, have you played Psychonauts? And he went, no. And I went, Psychonauts is really good. And then radio silence on the Psychonaut front for years. Then a couple of years ago, Psychonauts 2 finally came out. And I was like, now's the time, because they're going to be really re-releasing the original on all these platforms. I can get Joel to play the original. And then we just didn't for a couple of years, and then I think I was walking by like a GameStop the other day, and I saw an ad for the second one, and I went, oh yeah! So, finally got him to do it, and he liked it!
Yes, I will say, in case you somehow haven't heard of the game and haven't heard of reviews, the platforming is pretty janky. It definitely, I believe... Double Fine by Tim Schafer, a company founded by Tim Schafer. This was their first foray into platforming, according to Zero Punctuation. So the platforming is bad, but the writing is phenomenal. I love it. There have been some seriously, actually laugh out loud moments. Another thing that I'm doing is I'm going back and I'm rereading the Mistborn series, which starts with the Final Empire. I always want to call it Mistborn. Apparently a lot of people do, but that's not the book's title. And there's some really subtle foreshadowing in there that I think there's two types of foreshadowing. I think there's foreshadowing where someone goes, there once was someone really important to me, but I won't mention him by name. And then 3 chapters later, at the end of the book, a mysterious man shows up and that was the character mentioned by the other character. Like, someone is grabbing you by the shirt and being like, pay attention to this detail. But then there's also subtle foreshadowing where a character at the end of the book invents a new weapon that can shoot, like in this world, flamethrowers didn't exist, and they invented flamethrowers. And at the very beginning of the book, the character goes, I've always found that fire is really useful on the battlefield. Like, really subtle foreshadowing that you don't think is leading anywhere, but if you read it again, you go, oh my god. And Final Empire has a lot of those.
Sanderson is our favorite sci-fi fantasy author. I should say contemporary sci-fi fantasy author. And I really think of all his series, Mistborn is probably my favorite. I really love Stormlight, but also Stormlight is going to be 10 books long, and we're only at book number 4, and each book is over 1,000 pages, so we're not even at the point where I can say this is my favorite series, because it's not going to be done until I'm like 90.
Absolutely. Now, this episode is going to be jam-packed, so I'm not going to go any much more detail. I will say we did plan when we were doing monthly bonus episodes of once or twice a year trying to cover books in the Cosmere, which are, oh my gosh, there's specific books by Brandon Sanderson that are all loosely or sometimes strictly interconnected with each other. And we covered a couple, but we stopped doing those bonus episodes, but I really would eventually like to go back and say that we've done a review of like every book in the series. I personally don't like Mistborn as much as I like all of the other Cosmere series, but rereading the first book, like, even if I don't like maybe the setting or the characters or whatever it is that I don't like about it, saving that for the YouTube video, it still is well written.
The very cool thing for me as a reader about being married to Joel is that before we met, he really wasn't much of a reader, and I still wouldn't say you read like as much as I do. So if I give him a book and I'm like, I really like this, and he goes, this one wasn't my favorite, I can just be like, well, you wouldn't know.
You don't have any taste, right? I could give you McDonald's and be like, this prime rib is so tasty. Yum, yum, yum. Slop, slop, slop. I'm the real big man. I'm the big man of this podcast.
It's me! I am the pig man!
Oh, I hope that wasn't too loud for the gatekeeping or whatever.
All right. Moving on. I'm watching a show. I'm watching You. I like it.
I have strong opinions. I'm not going to just rally against stuff because this is a podcast where we talk about the things that we like.
If we had ended on the first season, I would have been happy. I don't think I needed a second season.
Absolutely. It's a psychological thriller, and it is for adult audiences only. So if those are the kinds of things that you need trigger warnings for or that you generally avoid, that's why I'm not a fan of it personally.
Ooh, 50 subscriber special. You and I'll do a review of Gone Girl. We can finally read it together.
The book or the movie?
The book, man. Come on. Come on. Get your head out of your asshole.
Books are art. Anime and movies, that's garbage. That's for the pig men. The only reason we're doing this podcast about anime is because you forced me to, husband. I am a refined lady, and I would do a book podcast if I were left to my own devices.
Unironically, I have a friend who has discussed off and on with me doing a Warrior Cats book review podcast where we read all the
Warrior Cats is art! Yes! I support your decision to do a podcast on a book series that I don't think anyone's ever heard of, honestly.
Anyway,
moving on.
We have a discussion question this week, I assume.
Yes. So for this week, I'm wondering, in episode 3, we were introduced to the sky crystals by Grandma/resident witch Yo-Yo, and they were shown to be able to power the Mirage Mirror, I think it's called. I don't know why everything is Mirage in this season when they're clearly sky-themed, but I was wondering, will we discover another use for the sky crystals? And now, Kat, you are the executive producer of the show. Do you think it is better to lead with some of our listeners' suggestions, or do you think it is better for us to come up with our own ideas and then we bring in theirs?
Yeah, this is the first discussion question where we've kind of put it out to see what people had to say. So I think that we should just kind of like start with the listener responses we got. We can play off of some of that.
Absolutely. Now, I did say that I was kind of hoping that everyone would submit like at least one funny idea, like definitely not going to happen, and then one like serious idea. And it turns out that no one knows how to read because from
way to call out our listeners.
I like our listeners. I'm just saying, we got 2 people who both responded, and one of them gave only a funny response, and one of them only gave a serious response. James, that one welder guy, he mentioned that he thinks that they have a built-in AM/FM radio. And the reason he believes that, I thought maybe it was because it's a different form of communication, right? Radio versus magic mirror. But he was saying he likes the idea that the Skyland is like behind on technology.
You know the police scanners that superheroes are shown listening to?
Yes, absolutely.
Imagine Grandma just rubbing 2 of these rocks together, and then she can listen in on what the Precure are doing. Oh, they're responding to a emergency call on 4th Street.
Now I'm just imagining her listening to one of these crystals or rubbing them together, however they're activated, and just hearing like the middle of like a cocaine buzz, like something wildly inappropriate for the themes of Precure.
Accidentally tuned into the wrong channel.
Yeah, oh no. That's not good. She wiretaps the president, the White House.
I'd also like to say welcome to the newest member of our Discord. I think it's pronounced Telemon.
Telemon, yep.
And he shared some thoughts as well for this discussion question.
Absolutely. They could be used like the Infinity Stones, where they grant the user different powers. Or they could be used for communication, teleportation through space-time.
I love the idea that we're going to get some space-time shenanigans. And I mean, we already talked about Grandma knowing Princess L, which seems odd to us. And I mean, she could have just seen her in the mirror, but given the difficulties. So I think if we get time travel, that's the best way to rope in all the cures from previous seasons, too.
Absolutely.
So I really like that idea. What do you think?
I like the idea. I think that if the sky crystals could be used for different things, I mean, I guess maybe Kabaton doesn't know that they're on Earth or whatever, but like if they could be used to give yourself a really big punch or a laser beam, I think Kabaton would be collecting them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do like the idea of using the crystals as communication. In fact, I actually came up with what I put in. We have show notes for this show, and we have like, okay, here's what we're going to say before the show starts. Here's our discussion. Here's succinct summaries or like little notes to ourselves to remind ourselves of what we want to talk about. And we have another section that's specifically like long form discussion questions. And I put, what if the crystals could be used for this? But like, that literally is what this discussion question is for. So I thought it would be cool if the sky crystals could be used to like ask for help. Like you put the crystal in the sky,
mirror?
the mirage mirror, and you say, we're fighting an enemy who is using the power of stars. Is there anyone who has traveled the stars who is also a Precure who might be able to help? And then, Hikaru Cure Star shows up and she just goes, remember, the IRS can't catch you if you go into space. And they go, thank you, Hikaru. That is really wonderful advice. Thank you so much.
So space works like international waters then.
Yeah, pretty much.
I told my mom, I was like, listen, taxes are optional if I just get on a boat. And she's like, I don't think that's true. And I was like, you don't understand international water laws.
Absolutely. I also just like the idea of like one of the pink cures being a tax evading thief, because like Laura obviously does not pay her taxes. Alice, she's a big CEO, mega corporation, so she's obviously found loopholes. That means she doesn't have to pay her. But the pinks are supposed to be the straight and narrow people who actually like follow the law. So Hikaru being the one to suggest tax evasion is what really brings it to me.
Absolutely. She's just dumb enough that someone else could be like, tax evasion? And she'd be like, oh, okay. That sounds like an adventure.
That's Kiriyama. That's so twinkle.
All right. I've got an idea for the stones.
Yes.
You just shove them into the baby.
Okay.
And they power the baby up. And eventually you feed her enough stones and she's just like a regular sized person.
Absolutely. Okay. And would her ability to bestow Precure powers grow as she grows? So like if you feed her enough sky crystals, will she just unlock 100 new cures that awaken throughout the city?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what's going to happen in the finale.
So the other thing too, and this is just... so if you're not familiar with the Superman comics, I know a lot of people know like the generals, kryptonite bad, but actually in the comics there's like different colors of kryptonite. There's green kryptonite that affects him physically. There's red kryptonite which affects him mentally. There's one kryptonite that takes away his powers like completely.
There's
sometimes.
pink kryptonite which we don't talk about.
But anyways, so we've only seen the crystals in Yo-Yo's Tomb of Wisdom, which by the way, she didn't like say anything about like what this book was. I assume it's a textbook about Skyland, but it could just be Book of Secrets Do Not Steal.
Mashiro calls it her encyclopedia, and at first I thought it was just like an encyclopedia she has on the shelf, but maybe it's her encyclopedia, as in she wrote it.
Yeah, because she's a scholar. That makes sense. But anyways, my point is, what if later we find different colored sky crystals? And I think that's what Telemon was talking about them being kind of like different powers. So maybe the blue ones can be used for communication, but maybe if you give the red ones, they do an extra big punch. I don't know why big punch is today's keyword, but it is.
Send in the phrase key punch and win a prize.
Absolutely. Do you have any... I guess that was your silly response. Do you think they will have another use beyond communication?
Beyond just stuffing them into the baby? No, that was my serious response. I do think it's going to be communication-based, but I think it's not going to just be with the mirror. I think they're going to be able to use it in different...
Absolutely. Maybe, because, listen... It's not 100% confirmed, I don't think. I think it's been confirmed for some people, but I think that you and I, with the knowledge that we have, we don't actually know for sure that the orange bird is going to be the orange cure. It seems likely, but maybe that's how bird becomes boy. Is you feed the bird enough stones and it transforms as like an evolution stone from Pokemon. Bird has evolved into boy.
Oh gosh. Also, don't be rude. His name is Tsubasa.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta be respectful.
Of
Put
course.
some respect on his name. Now, Joel, I've set the timer here. I've got the little hourglass sand bottle on the table.
You can't start it when you can't just say go, because
I'm not just gonna say go.
Absolutely.
You have 1 minute to give me the succinct summaries
for all 4 shows.
For all 3.
3 shows, 4 episodes. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's tough. What I was going to say before you started the timer was that I noticed last week there were a couple of details from the episodes that we just didn't talk about. It just slipped our minds. So going forward, I still want to be succinct. I don't want to waste an hour talking about like a play-by-play what happened in every single scene. But I also want to try to be more robust. So I think it's going to be more bullet points of what happened. And then that way we won't forget, frickin' Cure Lovely got a power-up this episode that we just didn't talk about because we're dumb.
Which is weird because it was your favorite power-up.
Yes!
All right, you ready?
Wait, before you start the timer, this week we watched Soaring Sky 4, Splash Star 4, Happiness Charge 4, and 5.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, and go.
In Soaring Sky, Mashiro wants to help more with Sora's hero doing, but it turns out that Sora's like, you can be a hero in your own way. She has a best friend from her childhood named Ageha who shows up, who is very keen to learn about their secrets, but they can't tell her the secrets, but she finds out the secrets anyways. And then Kabuton tricks Sora, steals her pen so she can't transform, and now it's up to Mashiro to save the day. She decides she does want to be a hero, and she transforms into Cure Prism, and they save the day. In Splash Star, which one was Splash Star? Mai wants to join the art club. She's going to do an art competition where she has to learn, or she has to draw spring feelings or something like that. She doesn't know.
The scenery of spring.
The scenery of spring. She doesn't know what the scenery of spring is, even though there's like several obvious answers. And eventually she goes to a cabbage farm where she helps an old woman who is having trouble transporting all of the cabbages, I guess. And she learns an important lesson about farming and agriculture and hard work. Meanwhile, the other one, Saki is her name, is playing Home Alone in the forest with Karehan. Karehan lures her away from Mai. He's like, you can't transform if you're not with your girlfriend. She goes, shit! So then she has to try to like evade this weird demon man and get back to her girlfriend so they can transform and beat him up. Also, he uses his wood and plant powers in order to summon a cicada demon, which is interesting. What's the other show? Happiness Charge. Happiness Charge 4 and 5. In 4, Hime is told that she has to go to school. She at first doesn't want to go to school, and then Megumi is like, you're going to make a lot of friends? And Hime goes, cool. And then she she goes to school and she gets overwhelmed by the sheer number of people, and eventually Megumi has to be like, look, I'm sorry that I pushed you too hard. You and I are different people. You can make friends at your own pace, but I still think you should make friends. And Hime goes, that's awesome. And then they fight the bad guys, and then at the end of the episode, Hime makes her very third friend, I guess. It's Yu, the nice honey candy lady, who is also in the opening for some reason. And then episode 5, Episode 5 is about Megami doing nice things for people. So Hime is kind of like, why would you do nice things for people? Which actually leads me to a crack theory we'll discuss at the end of the episode. But why would you do nice things? And Megami is like, it's the nice thing to do. They do a bunch of really nice things. The Hoshiwa character shows up and tricks them by pretending to be in trouble and then grabbing them with her Terabad. And then she and Megami and Hime have a battle of the minds where they debate whether it's good to be good or not. And eventually they settle on, yes, it's good to be good. And then they beat up the Terabad and the day is saved. And those have been your succinct summaries.
Great
summaries.
Great succinct summaries as always. Unfortunately, not succinct. You did go over your time.
By how much, though?
1.5 minutes.
Okay, 2.5 minutes is not bad.
It's not bad.
Okay.
It's not bad. I saw... there's somebody else who does a pre-cure of the week podcast like we do.
Yeah.
And they had a succinct summary in as their episode description. I was like, that gold standard for succinct. We're not there yet, but we're doing well.
But okay, so I still, you showed me the tweet, and honestly, I'm not trying to be like, I don't know who it was from. I literally just forgot their screen name or their ad or whatever. But their succinct summary was good for describing the overall events. I could have said, Mai tries to join an art club, Hime goes to school, they do good deeds, Mashiro's cure Prism. There you go. 4 sentences that summarizes 4 episodes. But I think for people who haven't seen the episodes, it's more valuable to be like, here's more of the beats.
You're giving kind of an overall play-by-play of the whole episode. And I guess... to me, we give the summary and then we get into more details.
I guess that's true.
But no, I'm not. Your summaries were wonderful, as always.
Thank you.
I just thought I'd share that you went over time because I knew you were aiming to be more succinct.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, usually when someone is going to enter a competition, they're told what the rules are before the competition. It's almost like I sat down to podcast, have an informal conversation, and you went, this will be timed and you will be graded. You didn't tell me that before I sat down.
Hey, man, I know I'm a straight A student. But it's okay for somebody to get a C. Not everybody can be me.
Okay, yeah, very nice.
I'm
very
sorry.
Nice.
Joel, actually, I'm pretty sure got better grades than me in college.
I'll never tell. Tax returns and grades, 2 things that I will never release to the public under any circumstances.
It doesn't matter if he runs for the president. All right, so let's get into Splash Star. Joel, did you enjoy this? I'll really quick comment on your succinct summary. Mai was not trying to join the art club. The art club scouted her, and she was kind of unsure, and Saki was like, you're doing it!
But at the end of the episode, she does say, yes, I wanted to join, and here's my reason why. So you're right. She didn't initially want to join, but when they asked, she agreed pretty much instantly.
Absolutely. So did you enjoy this episode?
I'm going to say kind of. I'm very lukewarm on a lot of these episodes. It is a episode that we've seen before. We had the episode where they went to the carrot farm in Doki Doki. We had an episode where Nagisa had to try to figure out what she wanted to do with her future, and she worked with, I think it was an apple farmer, maybe? So this seems to be a tradition that a lot of seasons have done, and it's okay as far as that goes. Mai's character kind of bothers me a little bit. She gives me... While I was watching, from her facial expression, I kind of got the vibe that she was being forced to do the art thing and she really didn't want to do it. And then at the end of the episode, she's like, no, I wanted to do it. And I was like, oh, your facial expressions didn't communicate that to me. It kind of looked like you were being this passive Patty who was just kind of like, what? Passive Polly, maybe?
No, whatever, man. I just thought it was funny.
Passive Paula.
Passive Patricia.
Okay. But it felt like you were being passive, but actually you were being active, and that's okay. But I did enjoy the bad guy coming up with they can only transform if they're holding hands. So if I split them apart, I will be able to do that. And Saki had to use her brain hidden behind her giant forehead in order to outsmart Karehan and get back to her girlfriend.
We stan a 5-head gal.
Did you like this episode?
Yeah, it was pretty good. There was a really sweet piano rendition of the opening that I thought was very pretty. I love Mai helping the older woman who falls. She's not so engrossed in her drawing that she can't stop to be a good person. So yeah, that was good. I also really liked Karehan's whole vibe this episode. Yeah. So Joel mentioned he made a cicada, and the girls go, I thought you could only do plant shit. And he goes, cicadas eat sap, therefore they are plant shit.
Facts and logic.
So there. So I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, and even part of that exchange was Karehan saying something like, don't you dare laugh at the cicadas or something like that. And Saki goes, but you're the one who's laughing. And Karehan literally, like, he didn't, like, turn his head to look at the camera, but the next shot was, like, just on his face. And he goes, oh, damn, they're calling me out. Like, he got dragged into their rhythm. He's becoming more goofy of a character.
I would love to see one of the Precure tell a villain to touch grass.
Karehan, touch grass. That's literally my thing. I tried to attack you with a grass demon last week. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, like, touch grass emotionally, my guy. We also got to spend a little bit more time with Mai's family.
Yes.
She had some trouble kind of figuring out what the scenery of spring meant to her, so she went around and asked people, and Saki, of course, says it reminds her of food, because cherry blossoms, picnics, food. Mai's brother says it reminds him of frog spawn, which is very emotional for him.
Well, and she said something about, like, this isn't a research paper, so I'm guessing that they indirectly confirmed that he's, like, a biologist or an ecologist of some sort.
It seems like all of her family are scientists.
Yes.
Mom is an archaeologist. Dad might be an astrologer.
Maybe?
It seems he talked a lot about constellations being his scenery of spring. I can't remember what her mom said, but important to note that her mom looks like Nico Robin from One Piece, who is also an archaeologist. So it was on purpose. Nico Robin was able to jump out of her story and find a peaceful life.
She married a guy with what appears to be just like a basic ass office job where he talks about spring constellations with his daughter. Yeah, it was a pretty, I liked meeting more of Mai's family. It's just not clicking yet. You know, it doesn't feel like they are necessarily growing closer as a pair, even though they are more so than Nagisa and Honoka at least. But compared to the other girls that we're getting in Soaring Sky and Happiness Charge, it's still a little bit slice of life school drama, and I'm not really into those kinds of anime.
Right. There was a pretty sweet moment where Saki told Mai she just wanted to be with her.
Yes, good. Yeah, Mai's like, you didn't have to come with me. I'm just going to draw today. And then Saki's like, no, I just want to be with you. And she had like this really cute grin or whatever. And also, if there's two of you that can turn into Precure and you're attacked every week, maybe you should never be out of each other's sights. Maybe you should just live together.
Just seems like a good idea.
I guess there's nothing we can do to fight evil but get married to each other. Oops, they're forcing our hands.
Imagine if you hated someone, but you had to hold hands with them to transform.
Oh, boy.
Either you or that person would probably just end up handcuffing you guys together, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Now we have to spend time together.
Melissa asked me to turn in my AO3 account, and I think I finally figured out what has sparked the first story that I will write. It'll be a story of two Precure people handcuffed together, and they have to learn to work together, and maybe they kiss?
Locked Tomb Trilogy, Harrow and Gideon become magical girls together. That's the vibe.
Wait until we do a bonus episode on the Locked Tomb series. It's not a trilogy anymore.
She forgot what trilogy meant.
Absolutely. Okay.
One more thing I wanted to shout out. We finally got to see Akudaikon kind of in his whole personage. He is a square.
He's really big. Like, his head is probably bigger than Karehan, and he takes up, like, this giant cavern. He's very square-shaped. He has a little crescent over his head, which I associate with samurai helmets. I have no idea if that's accurate, but it is what anime has taught me to expect.
And he's got Dragon Balls.
He's two giant orange orbs that his hands are on top of that apparently are powering him. I don't know.
This isn't really relevant to the podcast, but I had a thought while we were reading the other day, and I thought it was clever. You can tell if a writer got their start role-playing on the Neopets forums because they will refer to eyes as orbs.
Interesting.
Just want to throw that out there. If a writer's like, they're glistening blue orbs, like, that's a role player. I see you. Terminally online person.
Okay, I believe you. And this is not what this podcast is about, so we're going to have to move on. I also had a thought that we should have called out last episode. Maybe it happened in the second episode. I don't know. But when they beat the Uzaina, I forgot what the monsters were called, last week it exploded and dropped a kind of orange-ish looking bead, marble, gem type thing. And this week, the monster, when defeated, the cicada, it dropped a red one. And again, I have a terrible memory. Maybe it's possible that in that very first episode when they transformed, Flappy and Choppy were like, hey, these beads will help restore the mystical shrine or something. There's 50 to collect. I don't remember that conversation, but I'm guessing at some point it's going to turn out they're going to need to gather all 50 of them or however many, and that'll be what restores peace to the land.
I could see that. You always have to have them getting something, right?
Yes. have we mentioned Flappy and Choppy? We didn't put this on the show notes. I'm sorry. Flappy and Choppy, when they sensed trouble, their ears just went straight out.
Little antenna ears. Also, I felt so bad for, is it Flappy as the boy?
No, because Flappy would be the flying one, so that would be the girl paired up with Egret, I assume. And I assume Choppy
That's right. Okay. They ask the fairies, like, what do you think of spring? And he's like, it always makes me think of new romance. And the girl fairy's like, And he goes, did you hear what I said? And she goes, yeah, you came up with a good answer. I'm trying to think of an answer.
Yeah.
And he gets real upset. I'm sorry, my friend. Like, she's just not that into you, I guess.
You know, I do want to bring that up. First season, or first 2 seasons, I guess, we had Mipple and Mepple, and they were a couple that have been together for a long time, and they just passionately rub noses together every chance they get. I don't know if fairies believe in kissing, but, you know, whatever. They're romantic with each other. Flappy and Choppy have not really given any hint of that until this episode, where we get, apparently, Choppy might be into Flappy, but maybe Flappy doesn't receive his feelings, so it's a different relationship, and I kind of honestly thought that they were brother and sister when they first showed up in the first episode, and now that I know that one of them is interested in the other, probably less likely.
Less likely, absolutely. You ready to move on to Happiness Charge?
I think that's everything, yeah.
Before I ask you if you liked these episodes, we forgot to mention Megami's Cherry Flamenco outfit last episode when she got that, or when she first used that power, and you really loved it, so I thought I'd just give you a quick chance to shout it out.
Okay, so first off, I just want to point out that their transformations this season are Z moves from Pokemon Sun and Moon, because... So, in the opening, you see them wearing different outfits, and what I assumed it was going to be kind of like other seasons, Witchy comes to mind as the first one, where they had different colored forms, where like one was like the punch people hard form, and one was like the goofy form, and one was like the smart form, I guess. But no, it's more like... if they're feeling a particular emotion, at least that's what I read it as, they can channel that into a very specific outfit with a very specific special attack. And once the attack is done, they revert back to their normal Cure Lovely or Cure Bubble Princess form. Yeah.
Is there a Cure Bubble?
I don't think so, but I keep calling her that, so I don't know why.
Which is weird, because she's not even water themed. She's wind themed.
Yeah, I don't know. It just keeps happening.
Oh man, you're a gremlin, just like Hime.
Absolutely. But no, the Cherry Flamenco is, out of the 4 outfits we've seen in the opening alternate forms for the Precure, is definitely my favorite, and it's fire-based. If you've been listening to this podcast for any length of time, you know that I love fire characters, and it was just a really cool attack. So, shout out to that.
So I'm gonna start off and say I liked these episodes a lot.
Okay.
One of my favorite points I've seen the Ivanhoe make when he talks about shows, because he talks about a lot of different shows, is that the main character and the protagonist aren't always the same person. So I would argue that Hime is the main character of Happiness Charge. She's the one who is going through growth and change and will be a different, better person by the end of the series.
Absolutely.
Whereas Megami is just kind of there, like she's kind of your guide through this world.
So how would you define those terms then? What makes a main character, what makes a protagonist?
I would say protagonist is the audience point of view character, and main character is the one who's changing.
Interesting. See, I almost think it would be the opposite. I think I would, you know, I know that there's a difference. I remember that from high school, and I'm not disagreeing with you there, but if I had to, like, if you gave me a pop quiz, I would be like, main character sounds like the character you spend the most time with. That's what makes them main. And then protagonist would be the agent of change.
I guess to put it in other words, the main character is the one that has things happen to them, and the protagonist is the one who is doing things. Okay. And so a lot of the time they are the same person. Like Frodo is both the main character and the protagonist, I think. I've never seen or read Lord of the Rings. But from what I understand of Lord of the Rings, right? But no, I really enjoy, even in just these 2 episodes, Hime's growth and her willingness to, like, embrace discomfort gets better, and I'm excited for her.
Yeah, and I'm here for, you know, Precure seasons can be as silly or as serious as they want. We've had episodes or seasons about, you know, parental or familial death, which heavy topic. We've had other ones where fairies poop out little beads that help them make a necklace or whatever the heck. That's obviously more on the silly side. But I do think that the way that they expressed Hime's desire to make 100 friends, but then her inability to act on it, and her being afraid, and then meeting someone who's having the same struggle, like, that was all very beautifully done. It was a very good, accurate description of what social anxiety kind of looks like.
Absolutely. Plus, she's a goblin. Just the whole episode.
She's a little blanket goblin at one point, because essentially Megami gasses her up, is like, all right, you're gonna go make 100 friends. She goes, yeah! And then she goes to school and she sees all of these people and she just books it. She just runs and she hides underneath a blanket in what I assume is the nurse's office, but we don't see a nurse character. And both when Megami and then later Yu, I think her real name is Yuko, but she's called Yu, and that's a very cute name, so she'll be Yu canonically every time I talk about her. But every time Yu and Megami try to talk to Hime, she's still got the blanket over her, but it's animated like she has like two glowing eyes that are kind of looking out from the shadow as they talk to her.
Candy? Candy for Gobbo?
And then related to her escape, she goes in and the teacher goes, why don't you tell them your name? And she's trying to say Shirayuki, which is her last name, which, by the way, just means Snow White, or White Snow, I guess, in the order that it's written. But she's kind of like, and then she just books it out the door, and then the teacher immediately books it out and just picks her up.
Completely nonchalantly. She just goes after her. I loved that. At one point, she puts on a ninja outfit and, like, smoke bombs out of the room.
Out of the Megami's way.
I don't feel like Hime should have ninja powers. I think that's dangerous for society.
Absolutely. She would not use them responsibly.
She looked like a Greninja, though, like same color scheme and everything.
I did like it.
Greninja's scarf is its tongue, which is pink, and her bow was pink.
Absolutely.
So they match.
So I actually think I would like to propose, I don't know how frequently they're going to be doing costume changes in the future. This might be something they like really lean into for like the first 6 episodes, and then episodes 7 through 49, they just like don't ever do it again. But these 2 episodes, we've got a fashion walk going on. We got a lot of different outfits. So I just kind of want to I want to bullet list them, okay? We get Hime as a cop in the police in the Good Deeds episode. She doesn't arrest a kid, but she makes a kid who littered pick up the litter and put it in the recycling bin. They both get nurse outfits so that they can care for a dog that hurt its paws. They once again go back to the roller derby look in order to help a young girl look for her mom. Like you said, Hime gets a ninja outfit. We get another flamenco, don't we, in one of these 2 episodes?
No. Okay, we saw the hip hop.
The lollipop hip hop attack from Megami, which is a great name, and then we got the
Sherbert Ballet
from Hime, and we did not get we didn't get Hime's second.
No, we got the card for the hula one at the end of episode 5, so I imagine she'll use it next episode.
Absolutely.
Which is also when I expect Yu might join the team if she's going to.
They're going at a kind of languid pace, which I appreciate. I like that, but after seeing, I don't know, we've seen like 13 seasons or something like that at this point, it seems like most seasons are more likely to give you all of the characters in like a kind of like rapid fire, like bam, 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 bam. You're like, oh, slow down. And so it's nice to have a season where we spend some time developing Megami and Hime's relationship. But also, I am getting a little like, Yu can join them at any time. She seems to have an unlimited amount of candy, and that seems to be the secret to making Hime's powers work.
Months and months ago, I think this was actually from the Ivan Hobbs article on why Yes Precure 5 has the best writing in all of Precure, but I saw something from him that was like, this character's only job is to feed Hime. And we found her. There she is. She just has an unlimited supply of candy for Hime, like you said. I really like your note here on episode 4 that this is just a horse girl story. Do you want to explain or elaborate?
As far as I understand it, because I've maybe seen a couple when I was younger, when I watched like everything that was on the Disney Channel, but as far as I understand it, a horse girl story is about a girl who meets a horse. The girl is nice and kind. The horse is a wild creature that cannot be tamed, and eventually they have to grow closer, and by the end of the movie, they form an inseparable bond. And so what we see in this episode is we see Megami, a good-hearted person, maybe a little bit too pushy in her good-heartedness, but like, she's good. She's gentle and kind. And then you get Hime, who is like running away from people, throwing smoke bombs, hiding under blankets, and they eventually have to coax her out with honey candy, which is quite similar to a sugar cube.
Honestly.
You might use to...
By the way, if you like horse girl stories, and Joel, one note that you missed is that there has to be a disapproving father.
Oh, okay.
Stormlight Archive, the first book, is a horse girl story. The first 2 books.
Who is the horse? Is Kaladin the horse?
Kaladin is the horse, and Syl is the girl.
Oh, I could absolutely see that. But this is not a Stormlight Archive or Archives podcast. I do want to say, speaking of parents, we find out that Hime's parents are in those bad mirrors. I should look it up if those mirrors have a name, but the bad guys disparified Hime's parents. So that's kind of dark. And we get in the middle of like a relatively like nice episode where they're like, wow, mom made such great pancakes. And Hime's like, wow, pancakes are great. And Megumi goes, what about your parents? And Hime goes, my parents are dead. Or my parents are in a coma and they'll never wake.
Batman.
And she's like, holy crap, things escalated.
Absolutely. And she says that she wants to eat her mom's cooking someday, which my heart. We also find out that Megumi's mom has some kind of illness that makes her very weak.
Yes.
And so when they get him all of the cards, they can eventually make a wish. Hime's wish is to restore her people. Megumi wants to restore her mom to full health.
Absolutely. And it's an interesting depiction because a lot of times in anime, if you have like a sick parent, they're like always bedridden or in like with a cane or a wheelchair. Megumi's mom seems to be able to walk around fairly normally, but apparently she doesn't have much stamina, kind of a thing.
Right. So I imagine we'll see the bad guys take advantage of that at some point. Really quick, of the outfits we've had so far, I don't know all of the attack names, so I'm not going to name them, but which attack do you like the best? We've got the ballet, we've got the hip-hop, and we've got the flamenco.
I mean, flamenco has fire powers. I really like both of Megumi's so far. I'm not really huge into like blue or water or wind themed stuff, so Hime's ballet, she looks nice, but I really like both the look of both of Megumi's transformations.
I like in the Lollipop Hip Hop when she does the popping Sonic attack, how like little bubble music notes appear and they go, yeah, 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 and then they fall on the bad guys, the kind of bads.
Oh, it's so good. Speaking of, in episode 4, so this is the episode where Hime is feeling a little nervous about making friends. She befriends a teacher, or she meets a teacher who's kind of feeling down, like his students kind of hate him low-key, and he's the one who gets kind of batted. I don't know if there's a word for it, but she transforms in order to save him. Megumi shows up later, but I
know what you call it. He gets Sayaku'd.
Okay, Sayaku'd. But Namakelder summons some of the kind of bads to basically get in Megumi's way so they can't fight together. So there's a moment where it looks like Hime is gonna like get punched by the bad guy, and Megumi/Kier Lovely hops on screen and is holding 2 of the kind of bads, and she uses 2 little motherfuckers to beat up the big Sayak motherfucker.
I'm gonna beat this motherfucker with this other motherfucker. I love it.
It was so good.
I laughed so loud when I saw you write that in the scratch pad. I can't even remember where we got that from, but it's one of my favorite memes.
Absolutely. And then also from that episode 4, Hime has like this kind of like, no, I won't let you pick on the teacher. And the music that plays, it gets me. You know, sometimes they play music and I go, I understand they're trying to pump me up, but I don't feel pumped up. But with Hime, I was definitely like, yeah, I'd walk beside you. I'd go into battle to help you grow as a person. And she really is growing as a character. I love that.
Absolutely. You can kind of see it carry over from one episode to another in her interactions with, like, Yu, for example.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great parallel between Happiness Charge and Soaring Sky Precure. Both Megumi and Sora were too wholesome to not fall for the enemy's trick.
Yes.
Like, person needs help, I'm gonna help them. That's obviously a trap, though. Never mind, I'm already going.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that really is unintentional parallels. In both, we have a lead cure who is going to help, and then someone else who is like, hey, hang on a second. I do like that this just proves that Megumi eventually will come up with a chart of like lead cures and how many brain cells they have, and the vast majority of them are going to be right in the single digits. But Megumi is not an exception. She is kind of dumb in the same way.
She is kind of dumb.
But at the end of that episode, they had a nice little moment where, because Hime's thing is that she doesn't understand why we do nice things for other people. And again, I have a crack theory about that. We'll bring it up at the end of the episode. But she doesn't understand why people do nice things. And at the end of the episode, she goes, oh, I kind of get it. I have this warm and fuzzy feeling when I help people and I like being around you. And Megami says, aw, thanks. I feel warm and fuzzy when I'm with you too. Now, I don't necessarily ship Megami and Hime, but I don't necessarily not ship them. And that was a really cute moment. I appreciate that.
It was super cute. I love this duo.
They are going to beat the bad guys through the power of friendship, and I am here for it.
Pure Fortune just keeps lurking angrily in the background.
She made an appearance in a couple of episodes, but hasn't, approached them. She seems angry about something, and you would think that if your job is to defeat all of the Terrabads, that you would appreciate having allies that are growing stronger and more competent, but...
I honestly, the look on her face, I think she just wants Hime to give up and die. Go get trapped with the rest of everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe. And again, it's probably because Hime spoiled Fortune's birthday. Hime was about to blow out her candles. She was about to kiss this really cute boy and or girl, depending on preference.
Fortune, you mean?
Fortune was. And then Hime just ran in, tripped, and just splattered the birthday cake. And that's the despair moment that created the Terrabads.
No wonder Fortune is such a bitch. I would never forgive Hime for that. Any other final thoughts on Happiness Charge?
Yes. So... I've seen some people on Twitter and in the YouTube comments talking about how Happiness Charge is actually hated upon by some people. Now, I mentioned this in the Discord, and you said, oh, you'll know why later. So it's not like there's, one thing wrong. It's not, Healing Good I didn't like because it felt very boring to me, and it never really got more exciting. So it's not like Happiness Charge is just boring throughout, or it has a terrible main character or something. But what do you think might happen that might sour the taste of Happiness Charge?
I'm pretty sure I've had this spoiled for me, so I don't remember for sure. This might just be my own speculation, but in case it is actually what happens, I'm not taking credit
Nobody
for it,
at
right?
us and tell us either way, by the way.
Right. I'm pretty sure there's weird romantic subtext between Blue and Megami eventually, and I think people hate it.
Yeah, because, one of them's 14 and one of them is either 21 or an ageless god who shouldn't have romantic feelings for people.
For a teenager, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that would definitely sour the taste of it in my mouth. I will say, so far, the comedy and friendship is just top tier for me.
Absolutely. Well, and I don't understand why people would call it this season specifically if that is the case, because it's not like Precure doesn't do that. They have romantic relationships between Cures and adult men a lot, more than you would expect, especially in the older seasons. I know that's a pretty major criticism of Yes Precure 5, for example. I know it comes up in Hugto.
Yeah.
So it's not unusual for the series is what I'm saying.
Absolutely, absolutely. But now with that question out of the way, I will say, because I like being serious and silly. It's the dichotomy. It's the two wolves inside of me. I will say it wouldn't surprise me if Hime accidentally says a slur on television. They go up to the Precure after a battle and they go, wow, you four Precure work together great. What's your secret? And Hime just says something about a particular group of people.
She doesn't even mean to. She's just an idiot.
Yeah, the other three girls are just staring at her why did you just say that?
That scene from Glass Onion. Megami is doing the exhausted face and she tells Yuko, Yu, she's not allowed to have her phone anymore. And Yu's what did you do, Hime? And Hime goes, I may have accidentally tweeted a racial slur. And Megami looks at her again.
Absolutely. Oh, man. So now we can move on to Hero Time.
Hero Time. How'd you like this episode? The debut of Best Girl.
I like it. So I might have to debate you on Best Girl. But it was a good episode.
Babe, listen.
Yes. Wait, are you talking about Mashiro's debut as a hero, or are you talking about Ageha's debut?
As Ageha. What am I talking about? I guess I should have said Best Cure. Listen, do you or do you not support trans rights? Is that not the official stance of this podcast?
Of course it is.
Okay, if our official stance is trans rights, she has the trans flag on her outfit.
Absolutely, and as someone whose favorite evolution is Sylveon, she's just the human Sylveon. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
You're gonna draw her with a Sylveon, right? Holding it up and booping its nose, maybe?
This is mine. As the Sylveon does the cat, dangle thing. Please stop picking me up, human. No, so the thing that worried me about Mashiro is I was worried that she was going to be timid throughout, and she kind of is, but here's the thing. She's not just like the quiet, squeaky, afraid of danger character, which can work under certain circumstances, but I also like that this episode introduced a strength of character that I would argue we haven't had displayed for us because we haven't had an episode about her yet, but the flashback with Ageha? That was great. By the way, did I mention Ageha was Mashiro's childhood friend, but then she had to move away, and now she is back in the area because she's applying to be a
Listen
nurse,
to me.
I think.
Ageha is a girl who understands what life is about. She is 18. She knows. She sees a bad guy messing around, and she goes, somebody get me a bat.
If only we had a metal bat, we'd be able to fight this weird mushroom thing.
If this weren't Japan, I would hand that girl a Glock. Sideways kill shot on Kabaton. That's it. He's dead.
Everyone remember this? It reminds me of the second crack theory that I'll be presenting at the end of this story hour. No, but again, we got focus on Mashiro, and there was more complexity and depth to her character than we had seen previously. I've already thought that she was one of the cuter characters. I like the fact that she's trying to train with Sora because she wants to be useful and she wants to be a hero like Sora. And I like Sora, single brain cell cure that she is, being like, no, you're great the way that you are. That was a lovely lesson.
It was a very nice moment. And listen, when you're a hero, you do a lot of running and jumping and fighting, your brain cells would be rattling around up there. So she handed hers to Mashiro for safekeeping. And that's why Mashiro was able to notice that the pig thing was clearly a trap. We got to talk about the pig trap. And that's why she's just like our reasonable person. You know, this is the adult parent figure of the team, even though we have an adult cure.
Absolutely. Well, we might. No, I'm just kidding. We've spoiled that we know that is coming up. As might be appropriate for an episode about Mashiro, a lot of the quotes that I wrote down that I liked came from her. And, at the very beginning of the episode when she was training, she says, 1,000 miles starts with a single step. 1,000-mile journey, or a journey of 1,000 miles. And I think that is a great and wonderful lesson. Also related to the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. But again, it's another good look at something. You can't just write a novel in an afternoon unless your name is Stephen King. It takes time. You have to write all the sentences. You have to plot it out. You have to make sure all the characters stay consistent. You have to revise it. You have to revise it. You have to revise it, and you will never be done with it until one day eventually you decide you might as well just turn it in anyways. And yeah, it's a good lesson.
Absolutely.
Pig trap.
They're sitting on a bench, they're hanging out, they're having a good time, and they see this little piggy boy just trotting, just this little purple pig.
Now, when you say piggy boy, this is a world with weird creatures. You don't mean a boy with a pig face.
No, it's just a regular little pig.
A piglet. Yeah, it's a small little thing. And
he's just walking toward an old-style basket trap, which Mashiro goes, huh? And then she sees the mushroom under it, and she goes, the poison mushroom from the river?
And then she goes, is this a retro-style cartoon trap or a retro-style trap?
And then she goes, this is clearly a trick. Because, it's clearly Kabaton, just as a little piggy.
Pigs aren't purple like that normally. And it's saying Kabaton as it's walking.
Absolutely. And Sora goes, oh no, Mr. Pig! And she gets up to go rescue the pig, and Mashiro goes, it's clearly a trap. As she runs over and she picks up the pig, and then he goes, Kabaton-ton, turns back into normal, stole her f***ing pen, like a...
Absolutely. And at one point, I can't remember exactly what happened. I think it was when Kabaton transformed into his normal size form. Mashiro was like, is this a skit? Because Sora was absolutely flabbergasted. This tiny little pig that was saying Kabaton-ton was actually Kabaton.
That one, Welder Guy James is live tweeting the episode as we're recording this podcast. And his response was, Sora, you're so dumb, I love you.
She's so good. Well, we're talking about heroes, right? And yes, you prefer your heroes to be capable and smart and able to defeat any kind of threats the villains might throw at them. But what's most important is the heart. And so Sora has the heart, she just doesn't have the brains.
Absolutely. And James has just pointed out also that Kabaton is just way too competent to be a Precure villain. He came up with an actual plan. Yep. He executed his plan. His plan would have worked if a second Precure hadn't appeared.
If it weren't for that meddling baby in the damn skywriting pen.
Absolutely. Quick note on Cure Prism's appearance. So Sora wanted to protect L.
Yes.
And the pen appeared, and L did the Precure yell, and she became a Precure. For Mashiro, she started thinking about wanting to protect and help Sora toward like the middle of the episode, and you get a sense from Elle that like she's starting to notice the pen
Well,
appearing.
and the camera shows Elle looking over, and you see the like pen inside
the silhouette
of
of the pen. And then when she finally says like, I need to protect Sora too, the pen actually appears, but it's not until she grabs it that Elle finishes the Precure yell.
Yeah, she has to make the choice. Yes, absolutely. So we wanted to, we have an appointment shortly, so unfortunately we're going to have to end this episode when we get to that time to leave. But one thing that I want to talk about is I'm not sure how I feel about the way that this episode was written. Okay, I like Ageha being a friend of Mashiro. It's the perfect segue to introducing her as a character. And by the way, Ageha's name, in addition to Ageha being in the opening, but Ageha's name means swallowtail butterfly. We know from leaks that the next cure will be Cure Butterfly. So much like the bird whose name is Wing and the same color as Cure Wing, I wonder if Ageha's going to be important or not. But
also, the zebra swallowtail butterfly is my favorite butterfly.
that's excellent. That has been your butterfly cat facts for the day. But what I think is interesting is that so Mashiro is on the fence. Should I become a Precure? Should I not become a Precure? Am I worthy of it? And her childhood friend Ageha is like, look, you've always been trying to protect other people through your own strength of will. You know, you didn't want to cry because it would make me cry harder. You wanted to show you wanted to be a strong heart, someone I could depend on. Now, on one hand, that makes perfect sense that Mashiro would need someone to help give her a little bit of a push. People don't just instantly get over their timidity in real life. But that kind of feels like an Ageha flashback. Like, if Ageha becomes Cure Butterfly next episode or the episode after that, I'm expecting that she will be inspired by Mashiro's inner strength. So it's weird to use that flashback for Mashiro when you could have had a scenario where like it looked like Sora was getting beaten up and Mashiro wants to help and Sora says, you can't help, you're not a Precure, run, protect Elle. And then Mashiro leaves and then she slows down, she goes, wait a second, we need Sora. And then she goes back and then that's when she gets her hero powers.
Absolutely. I feel like it makes sense that she needs the push, like you said. And I don't know who we have who could have that connection to her for her whole life, who could be like, no, this is who you are. I mean,
her grandma's right there.
That's
what if
true.
she came in flying on a broomstick and was like, you should become a Precure?
I think kindness as a strength is undervalued a lot of the
Absolutely.
time. We're a very hustle-oriented culture right now. And so, you know, all of her friends know what they want to be. She mentions that earlier in the episode. Everybody else has goals and ambitions, and she's just Tavi, right? She doesn't know what she wants. But it's the point of this episode, I feel, is it's okay for her to not be striving for anything specific because what she is kind, and that specifically is valuable by itself.
Absolutely. I think that is what is shoujo for girls or is okay, yeah. Sorry, I get some of the other I know what shonen means. That's my jam, but I think that's one of the strength of media aimed towards girls is they're a lot more like they're willing to talk about their feelings. And we're starting to get more of that from like My Hero. Deku cries, for example. He's a lot less like just fight all the time, like say Goku was back in the day. But I think that having a character whose strength is kindness is excellent. It's just, again, the fact that Ageha's backstory was kind of used for Mashiro's motivation is a little strange to me. But we haven't gotten to the next episode, so maybe it'll make perfect sense the way that they incorporate that.
Absolutely. One last thing I wanted to shout out before
Birdwatch, right?
I have to zip. Yeah, I meant to do this at the beginning. Birdwatch. Where's the bird, Joel?
The bird is drinking f***ing tea!
Why is he drinking tea? Does he think he's a person? Is he gonna put on a little hat? I bet you if this bird is a Precure, that he wants to protect Grandma.
Oh,
and he can't do it because he's just a little bird.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Now listen, we're getting to the end of the episode. We gotta go, unfortunately. So I'm gonna lightning round this, okay? There is a moment at the end of the episode after they've beaten the Ramborg where Mashiro leans in to whisper something into Sora's ear, and it's going in the YouTube thumbnail, and gay, homosexual, gay is what's happening right there. Like, there's no other... It's so girl-loving girl.
It really is.
One last quick thing that I want to get your note on, Catherine. When Ageha first shows up and thinks that it's Mashiro who opened the door. It wasn't Mashiro, it was Sora, but Ageha apparently is head empty. She's a glomper. Everyone run. We've got a Precure who glomps.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Glomping is acceptable, but only with consent.
Absolutely.
Don't glomp strangers at conventions. We're over that phase of weebiness.
I want to shout out the transformation sequence, at least in Soaring Sky. I haven't been doing a good job in Happiness Charge and Splash Star, but Soaring Sky, I'm gonna try to stay on top of that. We get Gentle Light Soaring Softly Cure Prism. And I like the Soaring Softly. You know, we got the Sky from Sky, and then we have the Soaring Softly from Prism. I imagine we're going to get like a fluttering or something and a flying from Butterfly and Wing when they show up. We also have Kabaton wondering, but why this side character? Why is the side character becoming Precure? And like, interesting. Does Kabaton know he's in a TV show? Is this all production? No, probably not. He just thinks that Mashiro isn't important enough to be a hero who fights him, as if he's never heard of a sidekick. I mean, come on. Part of the transformation in this season is that they get like little charms, I guess, and that's the thing that L shouts, Precure! And it gets a little symbol on it, and I did check. Sora's is kind of like a sun-looking gem, and Mashiro's is a heart, so everyone's going to get their own individual one, and I'm predicting that it's going to be a butterfly and a wing for Butterfly and Wing, although that's very boring, so I would not disapprove of, like, a diamond and a metal bat for Ageha, right? Cure Prism has energy balls, which, again, AU pointed out in the first episode, we almost got the iconic head bonk of Sora mating Mashiro, but we didn't. It got subverted, and AU was saying, I think that means a lot of expectations are going to be subverted in this season, hence having a blue-haired Cure. And I think Mashiro being the soft-spoken kind one who also shoots energy blasts is another subversion, and it's fantastic. Which leads into my final thought before we go into Calls to Adventure, and that's that her final attack, Soaring Prism Shot, is just the Spirit Bomb. She creates a giant energy blast, she goes, everything that flutters, lend me your flaps, and that gathers into a giant blast, and then she fires it and she just wrecks shit. And I'm here for the kind-hearted Cure who has the energy that can destroy God, or kill dragons, or whatever. Peek behind the curtains, everyone. Catherine did have to leave a little bit early, so as I go into Calls to Adventure, it's just going to be a solo outing. It's just going to be me. So if I say something very witty, just pretend like you can hear her laughing. Or I say something really dumb, pretend that you can hear her groaning. Hopefully you have experienced enough of that throughout the rest of this podcast to know what that sounds like. We go to Calls to Adventure, and first we have AU, that magical girl AU, on Twitter, and also host of Sparkleside Chats, where they talk all things magical girl. There's a lot of times when a stock footage heavy episode can feel very phoned in, but this episode managed to do it very well. AU is very happy because AU has been excited, practically vibrating. We can sense the energy through Discord of how happy and excited she was to see Cure Prism, and this episode did not disappoint. Apparently Mashiro did bunny ears, which must be a specific idol thing, because I didn't see anything that explicitly looked like bunny ears, but I'm sure that there's like some hand gesture that's globally recognized as bunny ears that I don't know because I'm not part of that scene, if that makes sense. And then AU also points out that we never get an explanation for what Precure are. I don't think that's true of every season. I don't think she's saying in 20 years we've never gotten an explanation, but in Soaring Sky specifically, no one answers the question. So at one point, Ageha says, what's a Precure? And just no answer as Mashiro transforms and all that stuff. Sora is just too good for her own good. She got caught in a trap that, you know, any thinking person would have been able to recognize. We called that out, but just wanted to point out that AU backed up our interpretation, and we love Sora for it. And the last bit of trivia that we got from AU is that next week's title episode, I'll cover that in a second, is actually a reference to one of the Yes Precure 5 songs. So just, we're getting reference after reference after reference in this season. We've got quite a few from new writer Telemon from Soaring Sky, and we didn't get his thoughts on episode 3 until after we recorded last week's episode, so we got a little bit of a mix. We got some older comments and some newer comments, but he really liked episode 3. He was pointing out that there were a lot of off-model faces in that episode, which I think we called out that there was a specific animator who does episodes from time to time in Precure. Honestly, I have a really hard time noticing those details. I'll come back and I'll have seen, the new Ant-Man movie, and a bunch of reviews online will be like, you can really tell that these people aren't really acting their best. And like, I don't know what that means. Like, they're saying their lines, and I feel emotion from them, and it's kind of the same thing with off-model faces. Like, I'm watching the episode, I'm understanding the action, I don't recognize the off-modelness. I'm not saying it's not happening, I'm not saying it's not distracting for people who do notice it, I don't notice it. It's just not part of my world, I guess. Telemon was also wondering why Kabaton is just living in the woods behind Mashiro's house. And I mean, where else would he live? There's lots of forest back there, lots of poisonous mushrooms to accidentally eat and give yourself tummy poisoning. But yeah, all right. He also wonders if, because we're doing a bunch of CGI models in the credits of Legacy Precure, although for episode 4 we got Cure Prism, so it looks like it's a mix of past Precure characters and current Precure. So next episode, if we don't get Butterfly, we'll probably get, Cure Grace or something. But with doing a bunch of CGI models, he wonders if that's going to be used in the next Precure All-Star movies. And AU has said that there was a confirmation that later this year, in like November-ish, there will be a All-Stars movie. I'm wondering, since it's the 20th anniversary, if it's going to be 20 seasons of Precure, or if they're going to do the thing they've done the last couple of seasons, where it's like, they'll have Sky, they will have Delicious, and then they will have whatever one was before that, Tropical Rouge, but they won't have any older ones than that. Maybe they'll all be in the background. They'll all just be waving. They'll be on a train. They'll be going north, and the train going south. They'll look over and they'll see Nagasa being like, "I just had some yakisoba," and then she's off camera, and then we never see her again because we don't have time to have 76 characters on screen all transforming at the same time. We also got a speculation as to how episode 4 was going to go before episode 4 came out. Telemon thought that Sora was going to wind up with baby Kabaton because Kabaton was going to play like a switcheroo with L. And so she would go to pick up L, and it was actually Kabaton. It was a little baby Kabaton. And then that way, Butterfly / Ageha could end up with L or whatever. And so that would be how the trick worked out. Turns out Sora is dumb enough that you don't need to go through any kind of that. You just need to pretend like you're about to get crushed by a falling rock. She will jump in the way, taking the rock upon her own head in order to save you, even if it's obvious that it's fake and that you actually weren't in danger in the first place. And then lastly, we have the thought that Kabaton feels like a mixture of a couple of different characters from Telemon. We've got Wario, who everyone should be familiar with from the Mario series, Pete from the Mickey Mouse / Disney canon / Kingdom Hearts, obviously, his most famous role, and then also Midbis from Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. It's kind of this pig guy, and maybe I will put him in the thumbnail. I don't think I will, so just look him up on your own if you're curious. But yeah, they're all kind of like bigger characters, and I don't remember Midbis from Mario and Luigi, but I know Wario and Pete can kind of be bully characters, so I think that fits with Kabaton really well. All right, predictions for the future / looking ahead / crack theories. Don't forget that we are still soliciting moments for the Precure Awards. Were there any moments that were particularly funny, moments that were particularly cute or heartwarming, and then any that are particularly sad? I don't know if Hime's parents being in the mirror counts as a sad... I mean, it is sad, but, like, is that going to be remembered as the saddest moment, especially when they only kind of glance on the subject rather than, like, focusing on it? So I'm going to say that for myself, I would not think that would be a nominee. But absolutely, that old-fashioned trap, is this a skit from Mashiro? That might be one of my favorite funny moments that I think will probably go in the master list that we're keeping for the end of the season. Also, with all the different outfit changes in Happiness Charge, I'm going to give it its own award category for Best Happiness Charge alternate outfit, and that will include both civilian changes, like the cop outfit, the nurse outfit, the rollerblade outfit, but also the power-up transformed stages of their precure forms. That would be cherry flamenco and lollipop hip hop. And are all of their transformations food related? Yeah, out of the 3 we've seen, all of the ones they do in the middle of battle are food related. So maybe Tasty's outfit too, to go along with Hime's hair, which is tasty. Next week's episode of Soaring Sky is called Soaring Sky Precure Hand in Hand, our new attack. So, obviously, you would have to assume that Sora and Mashiro try to use their individual attacks, the Sky Punch and the Spirit Bomb. I forgot what it was called already. And it won't work, so they'll have to join hands and they'll unleash a new blue and pink type attack that is just going to look very pretty and be trans colors by complete coincidence, I'm sure. Now, I do have some crack theories. I've mentioned both of them in passing, or alluded to both of them in passing, and I wish that we had had more time to do this episode so I could have gotten Kat's thoughts on this. I'm going to put the crack theories out there. You can listen to them, you can let them simmer, you can put them on the crock pot, you can send them back to us whenever you're ready with your own thoughts, and maybe next week I'll hear Catherine's response to all of this. But firstly, I've already said that Sora will probably get a sword as her mid-season power-up. And now that I'm thinking about what we know about Ageha now that she's finally shown up, and what I'm assuming will be Wing's character, which I assume will be very similar to, not Pafu, what was the Aroma from Go Princess, and based off of Mashiro now becoming a Cure, I have a new crack theory, and that is Sora will get a sword, Ageha will get a metal bat, and Wing will just get a gun. I don't know what Mashiro will get. Maybe Mashiro will also get her own bat, or maybe Mashiro will get a shield, or maybe Mashiro will get the most devastating weapon of all. Maybe she'll get the gun, and then Wing. Maybe Wing will get a whip. I don't know. Seems kind of strange, but, stranger things have happened before. I don't know enough about Wing to make any guesses, but... And then lastly, we have Hime is not actually a real person. Now, I understand for young children, they might not understand why it's important to be respectful, or be polite, or be kind, or that sort of thing. But Hime is not 5. She's closer to 12 to 14, I think. And so her acting like, why are we doing nice things for other people, is such a weird thing for her to say that the only answer is that Hime is not a person. She's a robot built by Blue, and Blue doesn't understand human emotions because he's a god, so she doesn't have any of those emotions. She was created 10 minutes before the series started, and Megami's gonna have to teach her how to be more human. And that has been your doot final thought. Outro goes here. Thanks for listening, everyone, and don't forget, birds don't drink tea. It's unnatural.
Do they drink cola?
Yes, and then they do a funky fresh, super.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Podcast Time here at Cure of the What Now. Please remember to take a moment to rate and review us wherever you get your podcast from. If you want to chat more, you can find me at Pirate Ghost Host on Twitter.
And you can find me at KOTWN_pod. The link to our Discord is in my bio. You can join us for streams, games, and weekly discussions. Bye.
Stay heroic.